And we are live again Thursday night, as we always are. This is the All About the Birds Network and our fantasy and gambling show. As always, Phil Stifle, Beard of Knowledge, joined by my two experts, Jason Sullivan and Josh Gamble. Gentlemen, how are we doing today? Week 4 is upon us. You know, are we ready to roll here?
Oh, we're ready. That video was fire. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm ready.
I was there, and I couldn't even tell you what was in that video.
I'm ready to run through a wall now.
Yeah.
You know, that video is courtesy of good old Johnny Uleka from All About the Birds, Mr. Video Editor, Mr. Video, whatever he does. I asked him to teach me, but he said it's too complex to do it, and it's probably totally illegal. All those clips. I'm sure we have zero right to any of those clips. All right, so let's get right away started. Week 4. Obviously, we don't have a Pittsburgh Steelers game this week. That game has been postponed with Tennessee. That's obviously they haven't said the exact date. That'll be they're saying week 7, week 8, somewhere around there is when they're going to make that up. But let's dive right into the fantasy as we always do first with Jason. Jason, what do we got this week fantasy wise?
This week we have a lot of stacks that I like, honestly. There's probably 6 or 7 games that I absolutely love. I had a hard time coming up with my favorite stacks for the week, which is always fun. I did come up with a favorite stack, though. I like Buffalo at Las Vegas this week. Game total of 53. One of a few games that are over 50 in terms of game total. I like Josh Allen. What's not to like about Josh Allen right now? He's been on fire. 270 yards. He hadn't had 270 yards passing in any game in his entire career, and he's had 3 already this year. He has been explosive in the run game, explosive in the pass game. Just a lot to like there. I like coming back with Stephon Diggs. 9, 13, and 6 targets in the first 3 weeks. Only 6 last week going against Jalen Ramsey, which obviously that happens to a lot of guys. A lot easier matchup this week against the Raiders. So I love that. And I like coming back on the other side with Josh Jacobs at 6,800. Buffalo does have a good defense. They're not great against the run, actually, surprisingly. I heard a fact yesterday. They allow the most yards after contact to any running back in the league right now. So I like that matchup. I don't think Jacobs will be very high owned against that defense. So that leaves you with 4,850 per player to build the rest of your lineup, and I think that's a good way to start off.
No, yeah, so I wrote down, because I actually prepared a little bit this week, with questions and games that I was targeting. So I wrote down 3 games that I liked, players from, stacks from, whatever. A couple games I did not like that I know people are going to target, but they should stay away from. And I put 2 games down in the question mark area. And the Buffalo one, Las Vegas one was kind of question mark because, Las Vegas, we've learned so little about Las Vegas at this point. We really don't know who they are. They played some really good games, and they've looked pretty bad at times as well. Anybody watching on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, if you got any questions, comments, fantasy plays, who we should start or sit, drop them in the comments section. We'll give you our answers on the spot. Same thing when we get to the gambling section. If you've got any questions for Josh, let us know. The game I was looking for, and I love your opinion, because I thought we were going to be on the same page on a game here. We're not, but the Seattle-Miami game.
I like that one too.
Seattle, you could stack Seattle, go all out with Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, anybody in that game. But the thing I've been looking at, and it's sneaky, and a lot of people will stay away from, is Ryan Fitzpatrick going against Seattle's defense. Everybody's scared of Seattle's defense. But, are they really that good? They've given up almost 400 yards the one game and almost 500 yards twice this year. Mm-hmm. So if you could somehow pull off a Fitzpatrick, Devontae Parker, and then maybe a Tyler Lockett stack, what are your opinions on that?
No, I love that. Actually, I think you can go Lockett or Metcalf, either one. They're almost interchangeable at this point right now. But yeah, I think Fitz is a good play. 5,400 this week. That's especially in cash. That's a great play. And I like coming back with Parker. And then, yeah, like I said, either Metcalf or Lockett. They've both been money so far. Russ is probably the MVP running away right now. So, yeah, I like both those picks.
Yeah, I thought that was the game you were going to go at, and that was going to be my top question. So you left that open for me, which was good.
I did. I knew you were going to say it. So.
Yeah, we got a good question here from Scotty. He wants to know if there's any value in any running backs from New York Giants at this point. He's really struggling in the Scotty Talks Sports Fantasy League right now, so he's probably looking for some running back help right now.
I don't like the Giants running backs right now just because I don't like their offensive line. Their line is a mess. The running backs have no time. Even Saquon, when he was in there, I mean, that one game that he rushed for, was it like 6 yards or something? he has no time. Daniel Jones has no time at all. I like staying away from that. I don't like going anywhere with the Giants.
All right.
I actually don't like the Giants anywhere across the board, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I personally, I actually, one of my big losses last week, I did go with some of the, I forget which Giant wide receiver I went with, and it doesn't matter which Giant wide receiver I took last week. They were both atrocious. Next game I want to ask you about, sorry, is your Detroit. You guys both are Detroit Lion fans. They're going up against New Orleans. Again, not a defense or a team that's playing as well as most people assume they're going to play New Orleans. And Detroit, they're 1-2 right now. And they're 2-3 plays away from being a 3-0 team right now. Is there any chance, that you play anybody from Detroit in fantasy this week?
I like starting that game stack actually with Detroit. I like going Stafford and Galladay and then coming back with Michael Thomas. I think a lot of people are going to flock to Drew Brees because Michael Thomas is back. Obviously, Kamara has been awesome too. You could easily go with Kamara too. Just Kamara is so expensive, and I think for once you're actually getting Michael Thomas at a value price, $7,600. That's pretty cheap for him. So I like starting with Stafford, like I said, Stafford, Galladay, and then coming back with Michael Thomas.
Okay. Yeah. So Scotty, I forgot. Yeah, he had the number one pick in our league and in other leagues. Is there any thought process on what to do when you lose somebody like Christian McCaffrey or Saquon in your leagues? I mean, you're pretty much screwed in season long leagues. That's why I try to stay away from the season long leagues.
Yeah, me too. I like Mike Davis. If Mike Davis is out there, hopefully he scooped him up because I like that as a good fill-in for McCaffrey.
Do the Broncos even have a chance with whatever quarterback nobody's heard of? And everybody was really high on the Broncos this year.
Jeff Driscoll, man.
Fantasy-wise.
Yeah, that's going to be a really great game tonight.
Yeah, no, yeah. All right, so the game that one of the games I think everybody's going to flock to fantasy-wise just because of a fourth quarter is your guys' bitter enemy, Chicago Bears, bringing in our boy, Nicky Foles. He went off on the fourth quarter last week, going up against his old assistant coach and Frank Reich in the Indianapolis Colts. Personally, it's a game I'm staying away from in fantasy-wise. I think Frank Reich knows Nick Foles way too well, and I think he will not have the success that other people think that he's going to have there. I don't know.
Yeah. No, Nick Foles actually said that. He said he's the coach that knows him the best, which means he's going to know how to game plan against them, and their strength is obviously their defense as it is. So I do not like him in that game. I would stay far, far away from the Bears. Although I say that, but at the same time, I do like Allen Robinson. Obviously, Foles showed that he's going to throw to Robinson a lot. Robinson had a huge second half, so I actually like Allen Robinson.
Yeah, Nick Foles, when he was here in Philly, never had a problem throwing to the bigger targets. He loved Alshon Jeffries. Yep. He loved his tight ends. He always succeeded when he had that big target that can go up and get that 50-50 ball. So, yeah, no, Allen Robinson's not the worst play. But overall, Nick Foles, I know a lot of people are going to jump on the Nick Foles bandwagon this week. And, it's been the hot topic in conversation again for like the 40th time in Philly.
Yeah, exactly.
It kept Nick Foles over Carson Wentz, and that's just an old, tired argument here in Philadelphia.
You know what's funny, too, about Nick Foles? Nick Foles is always good when the teams don't prepare for him. Like, when he doesn't expect to be the starter, that's when he's good. It's when teams have weeks to prepare for him, he looks like garbage. So that's something to remember.
One of the best backup quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, but he's a mediocre at best starter. So, and then the last game I want to touch on, it's the game that just, if you would have talked about it before the season started, you would have been like fantasy points everywhere. Great matchup. Two teams that, playoff implications, but two teams that are just playing like trash. It's Houston Texans versus Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins, I mean, I know he had a big game with Justin Jefferson last week, and I don't know what your thoughts are on that rookie. And Houston no matter how good Deshaun Watson is, I've got him in 2 of my 3 season-long leagues as my quarterback. And it's so frustrating at this point because, you can't bench him, but at this point you're getting pretty close to that point because they're just not playing the way they should at this point.
Yeah. In all fairness, though, to Deshaun Watson, he's had a really tough go in the first 3 weeks. He's had 3 tough matchups, not good for fantasy purposes. I actually like him this week. I like coming back with Fuller, so stacking Fuller and Watson, and then coming back on the other side, I think you can go with either Cook or Thielen. I like both those plays. I think that's a good game. I don't think it's going to be very highly owned, which is great, that's kind of games I like to key on. Yeah. So I think there's a good stack. I think you can stack it both ways, actually.
It's interesting. And we normally try to wrap up the fantasy segment by talking about the Eagles game of the week. But is there any point in talking about the Eagles fantasy-wise? That Eagles-San Francisco game, it's just – I know it's a Sunday night game, so it doesn't count on the main slates for DraftKings and all. But in fantasy purposes overall, is there a team more how do I say this? More likely to stay away from right now than the Eagles at this point with the injuries and the poor play and everything else that's going on.
Well, they don't have. What do they have? One receiver left, so you don't want to take. Yeah,
one
no
receiver
sacks.
on
Greg
the
Ward,
roster
yes.
right now is active.
It's not ideal. So yeah, I would say besides Miles Sanders, I would not play any Eagles right now. Obviously, that's not really going on
Same
the
thing
limb.
with their opponent, San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco. You don't know what's going
Their
on
whole team's
in
injured.
Buffalo. Kittle is starting. They said, or he's practiced full 2 days this week. But outside of that, there's no one on either team that you really, should even remotely consider in your season-long fantasy, obviously.
Right, exactly. So are they just going to throw it to Kittle like 20 times? Because that's what it seems like.
Well, the Eagles are going to throw it to Greg Ward, Mr. Practice Squad.
Yeah, right.
So, he'll catch 20 passes, Greg Ward, for 47 yards total. So it's basically what Greg Ward does. Catches two. You get more from handing off to your fullback, running it up the middle, than you do.
That's good stuff.
Greg Ward. But that's the case there. Any other thoughts, fantasy, this week? Any sleeper?
Yeah, I actually have one super low-owned stack that I'm going to love this week. I like the Chargers going to Tampa Bay this week. I like starting it with Justin Herbert, $5,800. He's been really good. I know the games have been at home, but I just like him at that price. I think he can easily hit that value. I like that coming back with Eckler and Keenan Allen. And then on the other side going Mike Evans. Chris Godwin's going to be out again this week. I think he's doubtful, but he's going to be out again this week. So, yeah, I think that's 3 low-owned options.
I think I saw a couple other people. You said Godwin was out, but I know Fournette didn't practice today. He's questionable. Guy that a lot of people are high on. I picked him up in my fantasy league because I got a lot of wide receiver injuries. Is Scotty Miller? Yeah, so he didn't practice yet this week also. So there are a lot of injury concerns. So Mike Evans is going to get that rock a lot. From Tom Brady.
$6,400 for an elite receiver too. That's a really cheap price.
That's a really cheap price.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's your final point there. All right, real quick before we get into the gambling, everybody watching, thanks for tuning in again. If you've got any fantasy or gambling questions, definitely drop them here in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you got to say. We'll give you the best answers that we can. Obviously, like last night, I'm a really bad commercial guy, but I got to Hawk Products, got to pay the bills. Hemp Bomb CBD product. We are the official sponsor, or they're our official sponsor. It's a great product, CBD. I'm a big CBD user. Have been for 3 years now. Hemp Bomb, the top brand. You use their promo code AATBirds, you get 20% off. If you have any questions about CBD health, how it can affect your life, send me a private message. I will give you all the details. It's not even a sales pitch. I really, 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 truly believe in the health benefits of CBD. I've got some great samples to give away. Still, in 2 days, have not decided how, but I'm coming up with ideas on how to give away free samples. I got gummies, I got bombs, I got oils, I got it all. So if anybody watching is interested in anything CBD, check out Hemp Bombs, hempbomb.com, 20% off at checkout. And that is my commercial. I did it a little bit better than last night's show. All right, Josh. So how are you going to disappoint us with the Titans without the Titans?
Yeah, I mean, I've got that coming. Obviously I was very high on the Titans last week, and I put 2 units on that one, and they came out flat in the first half, played more like the team I expected them to in the second half, but it wasn't quite enough. Hopefully, all the folks at home that are watching and listening, took the other 4 plays that I had as well. If you played all those with the proportionate units, even with the 2-unit loss, you're still looking at being up about 2 units. So it's really disappointing because it could have just been an absolute massive week, and the Titans let us down. So hopefully we don't have any letdowns like that this time.
No, that's good. I hope not to. Hey, I didn't need your advice on that Titans game. I was all in on the Titans game as just like you. So I thought that was a clear cut, no doubt win. That's why it's gambling though. So yep. What's your first? Let's get it right out of the way. What's your top play of the week?
Yeah. So this week I don't have any plays that I'm putting 2 units on. I've got 1 unit spread across 5 games this week. Okay. Just because there's a lot of lot of weird spreads out there. A lot of very high total numbers this week. The NFL is putting up a crazy amount of points so far, so all the totals are pushed pretty high. But the first one that I like is actually going to go against what you guys were talking about earlier, the Chicago Bears. I think that they're going to be a better team with Nick Foles playing quarterback, which is not really too much of a testament to Nick Foles' ability to play quarterback. It's more of Mitch Trubisky's ability to not play quarterback.
You guys must love that. You must have loved when he was named the starting quarterback there in Detroit.
Yeah, it was money, but so I do like the Bears a lot this week. You're looking at them. They're an undefeated team and they're getting points. Which is crazy to me. Against a Colts team that, they've beat up on some bad teams, but I haven't been overly impressed. Sorry. I'm actually, I'm not even going to take the points right now. I'm just going to straight up take Bears money line at plus 120 is going to be my first pick. It's almost impossible for me to, they're an undefeated home underdog. So that's the game. If I had to pick one game that I really like this week, that would be the game that I really like, but I am only doing one unit on that.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually, so it's fine that you're taking the opposite stand because that's fantasy. Fantasy points is different than gambling.
Yep.
I wrote down 5 games that I'm interested in and I wanted to ask your opinions on, and that was actually one of the 5 games because I do like the Bears plus 2.5. I just don't expect it to be a super high scoring game.
Yeah.
That's going to score. Nick Foles isn't throwing for 4 touchdowns or whatnot. But on a betting standpoint, I think it's a great game to start with this week.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think it will be a close game. And so, for the people out there that aren't quite comfortable taking a money line on an underdog, definitely take those 2 or 2.5 points, depending on where the line's at when you make that bet for sure.
I think they're the home team this week too, as well, right?
They are. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's a pretty good bet right there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I love home underdogs. Home underdogs are a great way to make money. So yeah, that's definitely one of the games that I really like this week.
All right. Game number 2.
Yeah. So game number 2, I'll actually do game number 2 and game number 3 because they're both kind of similar. I don't normally do this, but I like these games enough. So I'm actually going to lay the points in the 2 largest spreads of the week.
I saw that in your article on aatbirds.com. I'm so surprised by that. I've never bet a team in minus double digits before because I get scared of that all the time.
I'll say this: I don't do it often, but when I do it, it usually works out. Just because I'm very selective of when I do give that many points, because that's a ton of points to give in an NFL game. So I do like the Ravens to cover the 13, and I do like the Rams to cover the 13. The teams that they're playing are just so horrendously bad. I don't see how both of those games are not going to be, just a complete blowout. I just don't see it. Especially with the Ravens coming out of a loss where they did not look all that great. I really like to put my money on good teams that did not play well the week before. It's not indicative of the type of team that they are. They're not going to be happy that they came out and looked so poorly against the Chiefs. And I just see them just running Washington over.
So out of the two big lines, if you're only willing to risk it and bet on one of them, that's the one you're betting on is the Ravens one.
Ooh, man, that's tough.
If you can only pick one of those two, I might take your bet. I might take your idea and bet on one of them, but I'm not betting on both of them. So which one am I betting on?
Oh man, you're really gonna do this to me. So
I guess I'm on my own on that one.
Actually, if you're gonna make me pick one, I'm actually gonna take the other game. I'll take the home team Rams to cover against the Giants. I don't know if there's a team in the league that's worse than the Giants. Honestly, I really don't. And especially with losing Saquon, he wasn't really doing much, as you guys as Jason talked about earlier with their O-line being so bad. They're just Daniel Jones is just, he's not it. And their defense is just incredibly bad as well. The Rams are putting up a ton of points. The Rams defense is not crazy good or anything like that, but the Giants are just, they're just such a bad football team. You're going to make me pick. I'm telling you to take the Rams.
All right. I hear it. I got you on that. The other thing is the Giants. I mean, you look at how they performed last week against San Francisco with a backup quarterback, no Kittle,
right.
None of those things, and they still got smoked by 20 plus points.
Yeah.
So the Rams being a healthy team right now, I can totally see that. Do you have any other games before I question you on the other ones that you haven't mentioned that I got on my list?
Yeah, so I've actually got two more,
Okay.
and I guess I'm actually kind of realizing it now. I guess I'm going maybe a little bit of shock value on some of these picks. I'm taking the over in two of the larger totals for this week. The first one I have is Vikings Texans over 54.5. I think both of those defenses are not great. The Vikings finally started playing like the Vikings the way that we thought they were going to play. They looked a lot better offensively last week, as we both know, going up against the Titans there. I just really like a ton of points in that game, and I think that. Actually, when it comes down to it, I think both of those teams are better than what their record says that they are. Especially on the offensive side of the ball, I just expect a lot of points out of that game.
Okay.
The second one is the Monday night special, Falcons Packers, 56.5, which is actually an insane number for an NFL game. That was actually as high as 58 just a couple of days ago, which is one of the high. I think it was. I can't remember now, but it's. It might actually even be the highest spread total that we've seen. And people were still hammering the over in that. Both the general public and the professional bettors out there. Everybody was still hammering it. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, even with all the money on the over, it's still come down about 1.5 points. The Falcons are not a good football team. When it comes down to actually winning football games, their defense is so bad. But they put up points no matter what, no matter who they're playing, they still put up points. And nobody's putting up more points right now than the Packers. And you've got two defenses that are not good. And you've got two teams that are averaging right around, 30 points a game. Monday night, under the lights, I just expect that game to be a shootout of sorts. I do think that the Packers will end up, winning that game. But I do expect there to be a lot of points in that game.
Yeah, that was actually one of my 5 games right there. More so on the line. I don't think the Falcons can hang and keep up with Green Bay offensively. I know the Falcons have scored some points and their defense is atrocious, but Green Bay at home on Monday night, I even the 7 points, I don't know. I did my notes yesterday. I don't know if it's still -7 the game. The -7 or the over on that game, I think are pretty fair plays in my opinion, just because, I mean, Green Bay looks legit. Aaron Rodgers looks like he wants that MVP. He wants to say, why'd you draft, Bryce Love or whatever his name was to replace him. He definitely has a chip on his shoulder. So that is definitely one of my games I was looking at this week. So I got two other games to ask, and then obviously the Eagles game.
Sure.
First game, a game that everybody's been betting on this year, a team that everybody's been betting on. They're away, but they're going up against an awful team, and they're only a 3-point favorite. And it's a game that scares me because the Cardinals being only a -3 against the Panthers, it just doesn't make sense. So I almost feel like that's like a trap to bettors to see that -3 because the Panthers aren't good, but why are they only -3 in that game?
Yeah, so I'm not going anywhere near that game, and I'm going to agree with you. More times than not, if you see a line and you go, that line does not make sense to me. Like what is going on here? That means that it's some type of trap. And those are generally the games that I try to stay away from. I'd rather put my money somewhere else, where I have a little bit better understanding of why the line is what it is. Cause I agree. It seems like the line, should be higher than that. The Panthers played well last week, so that does have a little bit of a factor into it. The Cardinals did not play very well last week, so that's definitely a factor. So really in that game, the biggest key to me is which Cardinals team do you think is the real team? Do you think the Cardinals that lost to the Lions at home last week is closer to who they are? Or do you see the Cardinals more as being the team that beat the 49ers, a healthy 49ers at the time? So it's a spread that I would probably stay away from. If the spread gets any bigger than where it's at now, I would consider taking Panthers in the points, actually. I believe last I checked, I think it was at 3.5.
Okay.
If 3.5 is not a bad number. If it gets any higher than that, I'd consider taking the Panthers. If it doesn't, I'd just stay away from it.
Okay. Next team, a team we mentioned with fantasy-wise also, your guys, Detroit Lions, playing pretty solid, even though the record's 1-2. My rule is don't bet the Eagles. I don't know if you guys have a rule, don't bet Detroit, but +4 at home against the Saints, who have not looked good. It intrigues me a bit. It really does. I know it won't intrigue you guys because you don't want to bet against your team, but
yeah, and so I normally don't bet the Lions either. I did last week. With the plus 220 money line bet, which ended up working out. But this week, I don't know what to make of that spread, and I don't know what to make of both of those teams. It's hard for me to bet on the Lions. It truly is. But I do not think that this is a Saints team like we know a Saints team. Drew Brees is not the same that he was. I do think it will be a relatively close game. But the Lions are the Lions. We've got a lot of experience with this. They get you, ready to run through a wall.
It's the Eagles. Other than our Super Bowl year, it's the same thing.
You're ready to run through a wall because they won a game last week that they weren't supposed to win, and you're like, okay, things are legit now, and then they'll go and they'll lose to the Saints by 35 points.
I was gonna say it's all the makings of a 44-10 game for sure.
It really is.
Yeah.
So we got to close as always with the Eagles. It's yesterday when I did my work, they were +7 against the 49ers, Sunday Night Football. Both teams banged up. I cannot imagine the Eagles going 0-3-1, but that's where they look like they're heading. But on the flip side, I kind of feel like the Eagles have enough talent with just Carson Wentz in their defense to keep that pretty close game. I picked the Eagles to win the game, not as a homer, just because I don't think the team is bad enough to start 0-3-1. And 49ers, I don't think are as good as they are. What are your thoughts? Does the line tell you anything there with the Eagles game?
So the line, I actually really, the more I think about it, I really like the line if it gets up to 7.5.
Okay.
I really like it if it gets to 7.5. Sitting at the 7, I still kind of like that spread, just because I don't think that the 49ers, the way that they currently are right now and the injuries that they have, they're not the 49ers that we're all expecting. We don't know if Jimmy G is going to play. Everybody's all, oh, is he going to lose his job to Nick Mullins and, whatever. Nick Mullins played the Giants last week. So
Yeah,
let's pump the brakes a little bit. He played the Giants. Man, it's a tough game. I would stay away from the total completely, just because I don't know what each team is going to look like. But I do think that there is a little bit of value there for the Eagles and to take those points, especially if it moves to 7.5. Moves to 7.5, I really like it.
All right. Well, another great show. Before we wrap it up, I do have one question. This is totally off the cuff, guys. It's directed at both of you. Does Michigan play Michigan State this year in Big Ten football? I know we got an adjusted schedule. When's the big game?
It's on Halloween, I think, right?
It's on Halloween.
I think that's right.
So what's the line going to open up for that game?
Oh.
And do we have a bet between you two on this game that we can have here on the air?
Not anything yet, and I don't even know what to make of that game, just because I'm a realist when it comes to Michigan football, and they are not as good as they're supposed to be just about every year. So we'll have to wait and see who's playing, who's opting out, all that kind of stuff, but.
Quick update on tonight's Thursday night football game. My buddy Adam just checked in saying Sam Darnold got hurt and Joe Flacco is in the game now for the Jets. That's interesting. Honestly, I totally forgot Joe Flacco was there in New York.
So did I.
I don't even know if that's even a downgrade.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's about the same.
There's a lot of talk in Philly that a lot of Eagles fans wanted him to be, before they drafted Jalen Hurts, they wanted Flacco to be Carson Wentz's backup this year. So Joe Flacco's a semi-Philadelphia, kid, going to the University of Delaware. There's a lot of fans in this area. But anyway, again, guys, thanks a lot. Great show tonight. As always, Michigan State. I swear I have a Penn State shirt somewhere. I have to. But yes, as always, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week, 8:30, with another fantasy and gambling show. Thanks for tuning in. Jason Sullivan, Josh Gamble, follow them on Twitter. Ask them your questions. They'll definitely answer. And Jason's at jsully2121. Josh is at j2the_rock. I'm Beard and Knowledge. All about the birds, AAT Birds. And we'll be live Sunday night as soon as the game touches 0, breaking down the full Eagles game. Everybody have a great night. You guys have a good weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Yeah, have a good one, guys.